Hi, thanks for joining me and Asuka today for another 7th Gen Voodoo Collection video. To start off with, I just want to do an addendum to my last video that I talked about Wii games in. I was talking about Atlas published games on the Wii, and this was not on my list at all. I just happened to run across this in the wild. I didn't know about it. It's 100 1-in-1 Party Mega Mix. Looks like some kind of shovelware that Atlas ended up publishing here, but I've gone ahead and added that to my Atlas on the Wii collection. Today, however, we're going to be talking about games published by UFO Interactive. What little I know about this company, they look to be a North American company. They seem to publish and possibly develop. It seems like a lot of their games, though, are games that they published that were developed by other North American and Japanese and possibly European developers. To start off with here, we're talking about Spy Games Elevator Mission. Now, this is a common game. You're going to be able to find this in the wild. I haven't really had any trouble coming across it. It's not an expensive game. This is going to be average Wii game price or less. What I think is sort of cool about this is it does look like it's one of those updates of a classic arcade game. Seems like it's a take on elevator action. You're taking elevators up and down this building and, shooting bad guys and trying to, I don't know, get your case to the get in and get out, as it says on here. I understand if people don't know about the original arcade game or that it's sort of an arcade port, not port, but reimagining. Might not have been too into this game, but I think it seems pretty cool, for a cheap price. I don't think you can really go wrong with it. And as far as I know, it is a US exclusive, so you're not going to find this in Japan or Europe. Next up is The Monkey King, The Legend Begins. Now, from what I can tell, this is developed by a Japanese developer, and it seems to be a kind of an arcade reimagining of, in this case, Chuka Taisen, which I don't know much about. It is a shoot 'em up. There was a port of it on the NES. I assume that it was a like an arcade game, but don't quote me on that. I don't know much about it. And when I say the NES, I believe I'm talking about the Famicom. I don't know that it was ever actually released here, but again, I'm not here to talk about that. So mostly this again is a common game. It's pretty affordable. Again, it's going to be average Wii game price or less. But I think if you like shoot 'em ups, this isn't supposed to be the best shoot 'em up on the system, but it is a unique shoot 'em up, exclusive to the Wii, and published by UFO Interactive, which they didn't make that many games on the system, so I think you're going to find they made some interesting ones, and I'm enjoying getting a complete collection of their published games, which includes Saint. Again, this is actually the same developer as The Monkey King. It's it's not supposed to be the best shoot 'em up on the system, but again, it is a shoot 'em up. I did wait to get this until pretty recently, and it's a pretty common game, but it wasn't as easy to find as it had been, so I was happy to run across this or dig up a copy online. But it's fairly well available online, and it's not an expensive game for the system. Next up, Army Rescue. Now, this is a game that I just ran across not too long ago. Found it out in the wild. I'd never seen it before, so I just went ahead and picked it up. This looks to be a North American developed game, and I don't know much about it. The graphics look kind of colorful and 2D, and I don't know if it's sort of like a multiplayer, like competitive game or something like that. It might be sort of a side-scrolling run and gun or something. It's a little bit hard for me to tell. But it's a fairly common game. It's not going to be an expensive game. You might want to keep an eye out for this one, and this one is also a US exclusive, not available in other regions. Next up, we have Balloon Pop. This is something I picked up within the past few years. It's again, this is not terribly hard to find. I've seen copies of it around, and it looks like a puzzle game of some sort. I haven't actually played it, so I don't really know what it's like. But again, this is pretty affordable. I would say just your average price for a Wii game at this point, a used Wii game. And if you see it, I'd go ahead and add it to your collection. Next up, we have Gen Cube. Now, interesting thing about this is, and these are all Wii exclusive games. A couple of them have also had versions released on the DS and things like that. But as far as consoles go, they're exclusive. Other games in the Gen On series, however, have appeared on the Xbox 360 and the PlayStation 3, but only in digital forms. So this is actually your only physical version of any game in this series that's ever been released. I think it's also available on mobile. But again, this is not super tough to come by. I've seen it out in the wild maybe a few times, and it's also not going to be very expensive. But again, if you're out and about, if you see these things, this might be one that you want to go ahead and grab. Again, another puzzle game. I haven't played it. It looks kind of cool. Next up we have Domino Rally. Now, this one is interesting because it's developed by Red Entertainment, and you guys know that I hold them in very high regard. They're a Japanese developer. They've developed a lot of really good games over the years. If you don't know about them, I'd recommend that you just look up Red Entertainment, and you're going to find all the stuff that they've done. This was also featured, I believe, as one of the hidden gems from Metal Jesus Rocks videos, and it's been interesting for me because I'd say we're getting into the uncommon-ish territory. This isn't still, I would say, a very uncommon game, but it's not as common as these other 6 games that we've gone over so far. That said, it's not an expensive game. I'd say this just goes for your average price of a Wii game. So, I'm almost a little surprised that this hasn't become a little more sought after. And I don't know if that's just because there's plenty of it available, or, people just haven't really caught on to it. That said, I haven't played it, so I don't know if it's good. But my intuition is that this is a good game. And, I think people are going to want it in their collections later on. I could be wrong about that. Next, we have Ultimate Shooting Collection. Now, I've talked about this before. I believe in my games I've only seen once in the wild video, possibly, but whatever it was, this is a collection of 3 shoot-'em-ups that originally appeared on the Dreamcast. And, I have to say that it's basically worth like at least $200 to $300 worth of Dreamcast games. If you wanted to get those shoot 'em ups on the Dreamcast, they're anywhere around $100 each at this point. So you're definitely getting a pretty good value picking these up on the Wii, and I just think it's a cool game to collect for and have on the Wii. This is a little more collectible than some of the other games, and I think also because of that it might get traded on like eBay and things like that, maybe a little bit more than some of the other ones. I would definitely call this uncommon. You're not going to see it around a lot. There aren't a ton of copies available of it online, but you can still get it without too much trouble, and it's going to be 3-4 times, maybe 4 to 5 times your average price of a Wii game. But still, I would say totally worth it for these shoot 'em ups. I think they're good shoot 'em ups from what I've played. Probably, Karasu is, I guess, the only one that I've played, but I enjoy that, and I spent as much on Karasu or more than you would spend on this now. So, if that's anything to go on, I don't think you can really go wrong with that game. Next up is Rock Blast. Now, this is one I got not so long ago, within the past few years. It wasn't particularly hard to find, but it's looking to me like this is a little less common online than it used to be. I haven't seen it physically either in quite some time. So, it's hard to say with this one. This might be on the verge of getting a little bit collectible. At the very least, I'd say it's uncommon, so it's a little tough to come by. If this is something you want, I would say definitely put it in your collection. I don't think it's going to be particularly expensive, at least not right now. That might change. So if you're interested in getting this, I would say get it right away. Again, I haven't really played it, so I don't know much about it, but it looks like a puzzle game. Might be cool. Next up, we're getting into I would say more uncommon territory here. Chuck E. Cheese's Party Games. Now, I myself have actually found 2 copies of this in the wild. I'm glad that I did, because there was an unfortunate incident with the first one with the disc, which I don't need to get into, but suffice to say I have 2 copies of it, and I'm probably not going to get rid of either of them. It's definitely an uncommon game. This is also a US exclusive, as is Rock Blast. I forgot to mention that. So this is not available in other regions, US only. So is Chuck E. Cheese is Party Games. Now, I believe that this particular one did have a version on the DS, but it is a Wii exclusive, console exclusive, and it's a little hard to find. You're going to find this going online, I would say, for, at least twice as much as a regular Wii game. It's not particularly expensive, but if you're interested in these, I'd really keep your eyes out for this one. One that I think is even harder to find, in fact, it might be quite uncommon, maybe like very uncommon, is Chuck E. Cheese's sports games. I had the good fortune to run across a copy of this in the wild. Again, how uncommon is it? I'm not sure, but I had certainly never seen it before that I saw it that one time. And I think when I was talking about Dokapon Kingdom, which I was very excited to have randomly found, I think this was the other game that I was saying was also pretty incredible to have just found out in the wild. If you look online, this is available, but it's not... there are not a lot of copies of this available online. In fact, I think when I looked at eBay right now, there are none on eBay. You can find it around on some other sites, but you're going to be paying more for it without a doubt, at least 2, 3, 4 times what maybe an average Wii game costs. So, get these while you can. Get them early. If you see that in the one in the wild, I would grab it. The only other one here that I know of by UFO Interactive that I don't have is also a Chuck E. Cheese game called Chuck E. Cheese's Super Collection. Again, another US exclusive. Sports games and the Super Collection do not have any other versions that I know of. No portable versions, just the Wii versions. And I've never found the Super Collection out in the wild. It is getting a bit collectible. You can find copies of it online again, but they're going to be probably at least 4, 5, maybe even 6 times what your average Wii game costs. So you're really going to want to keep an eye out for that in the wild. If you see it, I would grab it right away. And if you got to pick up a copy online, you got to pick up a copy online. You might not want to wait on that. I don't know how collectible that one is going to get, but it's collectible now, so it might become even more so in the future. But anyway, those are my Wii games by UFO Interactive. I hope that you enjoyed this episode of 7th Gen Collection Voodoo, and I hope that you'll join me again for more video game related videos. Thanks for watching.